Welcome back, children. Today we will study the third chapter of Geography for Standard 9th, the drainage. Children, before I go ahead with the lesson, we need to understand three definitions. One is drainage. Let us see the definition. It is a river system of an area. All this I will be explaining in detail in my next slide. Now, drainage basin, they are drained by a river with its tributaries and distributaries. Water divide, when an elevated area such as a mountain or any upward land separates two drainage basins. Now, what is a river system? A river system consists of one main river with several other small rivers joining it. So you can see this is the main river, and there are small rivers which join the main river, which is called as tributaries. So that is called as a river system. So one main river and several other small rivers which join the main river is called a river system. So children, let us understand what is a drainage basin. Okay, so here you can see I've drawn a thick blue line, which is the main river, and here tributaries, these are small rivers which join the main river. That means they're bringing water and depositing it into the main river. Okay, they're called as tributaries, they're giving. And distributaries, that means the main river is giving out water. Okay, so they are called as distributaries, and this normally happens when the river is coming to an end and flowing into the sea. It distributes the water. Okay, so what is a drainage basin? They are drained by a river, by a main river with its tributaries and distributaries, and then it empties out into the sea. This entire area is called a drainage basin. Now let us understand what is water divide. The name itself, it suggests dividing two waters separately. So whenever there is an elevated area or a hill or a mountain or anything that is elevated separates two drainage basins. So this once, because there is a mountain here, this stream will flow this way and the other stream will flow on the other way. So you can see here in this diagram also, because there is a mountain, this stream will flow this side, that the other stream will flow on the other side. So that which is dividing the water is called water divide. Okay, so either it's a mountain, hill or any elevated land which divides two drainage basin is called water divide. The Indian rivers are divided into two major groups, that is the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. Now the main Himalayan rivers are Indus River, Ganga, and the third is Brahmaputra. Now these Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers, which means they have water throughout the year. Now the Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers. Now where do they get the water from? So that they have water throughout the year. Okay, they get water from either rain or from the melted snow from the lofty Himalayan mountains. You can see the snow melting, and this provides water to these rivers throughout the year. Now children, you can see these Himalayan rivers have a long course, a long journey they travel right from the source to its mouth, from where it begins and where it ends. A long way they travel. Okay, you can see all these three rivers have a long course before they empty out into the sea. So during this journey, a number of erosional and depositional activities takes place. Children, during the upper course of these Himalayan rivers, because they're coming down from the mountains, a lot of erosion takes place. The water cuts through the mountain rocks and they carry a lot of sand and silt during its upper course. Now during the middle and lower course of the Himalayan rivers, the river tends to meander and there is formation of oxbow lake, then development of depositional activities like floodplains, and it has a well developed delta also before it empties out into the sea. Let us now see the peninsular river. They are mainly Mahanadi. You can see Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Now why are they called peninsula? All of you know this part of India is a peninsula. What is a peninsula? Which is surrounded, piece of land surrounded by water on three sides. So here we have Bay of Bengal, here we have Arabian Sea, and down below is Indian Ocean. So that is why this is called as peninsular river. Okay, so you should know which are the major peninsular rivers: Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Now, as I told you, the Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers. That means they have water throughout the year. But peninsular rivers are seasonal. That means they are totally dependent on rain. Okay, so whenever there is rainfall, these rivers have lots of water flowing in them. During the dry seasons or summer seasons, the water level gets reduced, and maybe the small streams also dry up. So these peninsular rivers are seasonal rivers. And you can see the course of the river is also small. Like we see the journey of the Himalayan rivers was very long, right from the source to the mouth. It has to travel a long distance, but these rivers have a shorter course and they empty out into the sea. They don't have to travel too long. Okay, so you can see the difference between the Himalayan and the peninsular rivers. Now children, most of the peninsular rivers actually originate from the Western Ghats and they flow eastwards and empty out into the Bay of Bengal. Now which were they? They were Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. But there are two rivers which flow westwards and drain into the Arabian Sea. Let's see which are they. The two peninsular rivers which drain into the Arabian Sea on the west coast are Narbada and Tapi. So as you know children, there are two major river systems in our country, the Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. Now let us look into the differences between the Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers. And this I have drawn a chart so to make it easier to learn. So if you are asked the differences, you can take the help of this chart. First is that the Himalayan rivers, as I told you, is perennial rivers, which means they have water throughout the year, whereas peninsular rivers are seasonal and they're totally dependent on rain. And these Himalayan rivers, when they come down from the mountain, lots of water gushes down and that causes a lot of erosion, whereas the peninsular rivers, there is less erosion because the water content is less. Now the Himalayan rivers meander, that means they make loops and turns. The peninsular rivers flow straight, they don't make any loops and turns. Now Himalayan rivers originate in the Himalayas, whereas the peninsula originate in small hills or plateaus, okay, in the Western Ghats. Then the Himalayan rivers irrigate, they give water to the northern plains, whereas these rivers irrigate the Deccan plateau. Himalayan rivers basins are very fertile, whereas peninsular rivers are fertile but not as fertile as the Himalayan river basins. Now the Himalayan rivers has to cover a long distance when they travel right from the source to the mouth. These rivers have to cover a shorter distance. Now the major Himalayan rivers, as I told you, are Ganga, Indus and Brahmaputra, and the major peninsular rivers Narbada, Tapi, Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. Children, with this we come to an end of the part 1 of this chapter on drainage. We will continue to learn more about the river system in great detail in my next video. Thank you. Please do view and subscribe.